Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
literally
I agree.
feel myself aging as I'm talking. Hello everyone and welcome to BearTalks. Today we are joined by Blazog.
Hey, how's it going?
So today we're going to be talking about returning to games after a long absence. And to begin with, Blazog, what was the first game you really got into?
I've been into gaming for a long time, but at first I think it was mostly single player PS1, PS2, RPG type stuff. The first game I really got addicted to was probably League of Legends in high school. I spent a lot of time playing that.
Well, I'm kind of intrigued there. You said you were into PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, like RPGs.
Yeah.
Any standouts?
So I was really young at the time, but I have strong memories of playing Final Fantasy VII.
Classic.
I could never figure out how the save system worked, so I just played the opening over and over again. But mostly a lot of Final Fantasy games. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel bad about not figuring out the save system. I could never get past the first boss.
Yeah.
I suppose that's why we have to love returning to them in the older age, back on the
Yes,
PSP.
The remake, I figured out the save system worked in the remake.
Only took, what, 20 years?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's fair enough. So you're saying League of Legends was really the first game you actually dedicated your time to, really got into and got to know it.
Yes, so it was around sixth form of high school when I had exams. I used to just come home from school and play with a group of 4 or 5 friends every day. I think my parents were quite stressed I wasn't studying.
Understandably.
Yeah.
Well, what do you feel drew you in to that game then?
Yeah, as I said, I hadn't played that many online games before. I tried CSGO and Counter-Strike and Rainbow Six and all that. Even Call of Duty, I never really got into the online scene for them. I think with League of Legends, it was just how all my friends were playing it at the time. So we played together every night, had fun on the group call together.
Oh, okay, so it's really the sort of the social aspect that sort of kept you coming back to the title.
Yeah, that too. And I think also, in terms of the lore and world of League of Legends, I think that was more appealing to me than kind of generic military shooter stuff that most other games had.
I must admit, I do not have the best of knowledge when it comes to League of Legends, but what would be like a standout character to you? Because I know they all have like full-blown backstories.
Oh yeah, so my main and one of them, probably the most popular character for people that really like the game, is Jin. He's a serial murderer, and he thinks murder is art. So he kills people and positions them in what he thinks are beautiful positions for the police to find, stuff like that. But his voice is really great, and his story is really interesting.
We'll imagine that it's the voice that drew you in.
Yeah, but no, I not when I was in high school, he wasn't actually released, but it was just there's a whole world for the game, different regions. There's different characters from each region. The characters have different relationships with each other, and it's just kind of in the background of a game.
Yeah, but I mean, you say it's just the background, but definitely the lore has a large effect on the player, I would say, and certainly coming from World of Warcraft. Yeah, the lore is a massive part of that game, and if you really get into it, there were mangas about it actually. They were really good, to be honest with you.
Yes, recently they've started releasing comics for League and stuff too, so I think they're finally cottoning on to that. It's one of the things that draws people in.
Wow, so they've started to bring out full-blown story arcs for the characters developing and progressing, or is this backstory filler?
There's actually canonical events that go on and change. I remember a big event was there's a character called Gangplank who's a pirate, and he's very generic. He eats oranges and he heals and he shoots a gun at people. But he needed a rework, and as part of the rework, they canonically killed him off by another character. And then he came back to life as a kind of new character, or he's everyone thought he was dead, but he was actually in hiding.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah. Just developing the game as they're developing the story and linking it. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Well, I wish they'd do more of that, to be honest. It's only very occasionally they do that kind of thing.
Fair enough. A little off topic, but interesting nonetheless. Would you say that playing through League of Legends in particular in this case had any effect, any impact on your life in general? So it is quite a demanding game, particularly being a competitive one. You do have to dedicate a fair amount to them.
So when I was first into it the first time, I really did not care about the ranked aspect. I didn't care about climbing the ladder. I just played with my friends, and I was always just kind of a mediocre player. Sometimes they put out like comedy game modes where they remove all the cooldowns from the abilities. You can all pick 5 of the same character and just mess people up online. But I think it's what introduced me to social gaming, playing with like friends online every night. And now since then, I kind of, even my friends who aren't super into gaming, we can play like Jackbox Party Pack together, and it's good to like whip out just to kill time.
Okay, it's kind of like the gateway,
maybe
entry point.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's covered us for League of Legends. Of course, we know you've also been playing at Final Fantasy. So, kind of what brought you into the MMO?
Yeah, so I had always been interested in MMOs. I tried World of Warcraft when I was in high school. I remember when it first released, you saw all these news stories about people owning like cheese shops in the game, and like the news was like, you don't have to fight monsters, you can just hang out with friends and role play in like a fantasy world. But I think World of Warcraft just wasn't for me. I don't know what the barrier was there. But basically, before I came to Japan, I had a 5-month gap where I was waiting for my flight and not really much to do in that time. So I decided to give Final Fantasy XIV a try because I heard good things about it. This was about 3 years ago, I think now.
So yeah, you've been at it for a while, but came in a little late. I'm trying to think, what were they on 3 years ago? What story DLC arc thing?
The current expansion that is out now is Shadowbringers, and I started playing just after Shadowbringers released.
Oh, so you were there like not exactly day one, but yeah, right as it opened up.
So yeah, I started playing with the new expansion that came out about 2 years ago, and then as we're talking about returning to the game, I completed all of the content for that, and then took, I don't know, a year off, and I only returned to it recently. So they're still on the same expansion.
Once more for this, what do you feel brought you back to playing Final Fantasy Online?
Yeah, so there was a big movement recently of all the people leaving the WoW refugee crisis.
Yes.
Maybe I kept getting recommended YouTube videos of Asmongold and like World of Warcraft streamers moving to Final Fantasy and their like first impressions of the game. And as I was seeing it, I remembered, oh god, this part was really good. I remember this, kind of stirring up my memories of it.
Bit of nostalgia coming through.
Yeah. Also, they do like seasonal events, like the summer event and winter event. I feel like if you take a break, it's quite easy to get back in to just go pick up things you might have missed. Kind of FOMO, fear of missing out of some of the items, was probably a big factor.
Oh, are they like limited, like actual? When you say season events, I'm assuming you can only get them in that time. They're like unique to each festival, if you will.
Yeah, so currently there's the Moonfire Fair is on, which is the summer event. Normally there's a yearly swimsuit you can get for the characters or some like furnishings for your house. This year they put a mount in it, and it's a polar bear. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
I logged in to get that, yeah.
I was thinking, so swimsuits just makes me think of Dead or Alive and the pit they have fallen into. But no, a mount, I'm up for that. Game on.
Yeah, but a lot of the play, it certainly keeps people subscribed to swimsuits, I think. People do log in to get that as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they have like a bonus to them? Any stat increases? Resistance?
So once you're at endgame, the stats don't really matter that much. You just kind of get your endgame gear. And then it's all about the glamour. It's all about the skins.
Okay.
So, something like 50% of the player base plays as cat girls. So put on the sexy swimsuit and go hang out in the hub area for a bit.
I've never understood that. I always thought the rabbits looked better. But then again, I was playing Perfect World, if you ever remember that. They had some cool characters.
I've heard of it, yeah. Yeah, when I first started, I played as the rabbit girl. And then I changed to a dragon person. I think they look much better.
I love RPGs, man. Like, rather than just I'm playing as this class, it's just, oh, I'm playing as like a dragon dude. Like,
yeah.
oh, that's totally normal. Okay, I understand.
Well, the rabbit girls, they couldn't wear hats because they I don't know what, because you know the system's built on the original game that released 5-6 years ago that was really bad, and it's got kind of spaghetti code in it.
Yes.
Apparently they found it too difficult to make it change the hats so they have like ear holes or hide the ears for the rabbit people. So I got bored of not being able to wear hats, so I changed.
That's quite an interesting choice. Yeah, can't wear hats. I'll just change character.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we should say this isn't Final Fantasy Online, is it? It's Final Fantasy Reborn, I think is.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 14: A Realm Reborn.
Ah, there we go. I 100% know what I'm talking about.
So even like, you're counting me as a returner to the game, but I'm still on the newest expansion. There are people who played the original in all of its kind of broken glory, and they then came back to the remade game. I don't know when it released, like a year later, and they've got some interesting stories, I think.
I've got to say, I played the very, very original when it first came out, because you always have like the so many days free trial. Gave it a bash, and just could not get into it at all.
Yeah, I've heard this from a few people. Actually, I didn't play the original, but everything I've heard about the original is that like it was bad. Yeah,
it's just kind of very bare bones. Particularly at that time when it came out, there was such an oversaturation of the MMO market that it just blended in with the hundreds of other MMOs that were trying to build up. Of course, WoW had, set itself as the king for quite a while. Guild Wars was doing okay. What was I playing at the time? I can't remember now. I was playing some weird Korean one. It was something by Netmarble, probably.
Okay. I played a bit of Guild Wars 2 as well, actually, when I was in high school. So actually, that was probably the first MMO I got into. But I didn't really know what I was doing. I was stupid. I couldn't figure out like the end game and stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry. Guild Wars 2 is another one I couldn't get into.
Really?
I will say it had some very cool events. I can remember randomly going around like the level 1 area, level 1-ish, and like one of those big old dragons suddenly appeared.
Yeah. The world bosses and stuff, I think, in that game were great. I remember logging in every day to fight to Quattle the Sunless.
I'm really sure it would be if you're a good enough level with enough skills for it to be interesting, but I just had like basic attack. And like I could heal a few people around me.
I played that before any of the expansions came out, so I'm not sure if it's changed, but I just remember I didn't like that they removed the trinity of like tanks, healers, and DPS, because it felt like everyone just did the same.
Yes, yeah, it is a weird one. When you give people the freedom to do anything they want, everyone kind of tends to do roughly the same thing. I actually feel, what was it called? It's not Two Worlds. What's the name of it? Give me a second. To try and find what the heck this MMO was called.
Was it Club Penguin?
No.
Wizard 101.
Ah, there it is. So it's very similar to Secret Worlds. Secret Worlds went free to play with Legends, but I was playing it back when that came out. And you had complete access, very similar idea of like you can choose any skills, any weapons you want, and you customize your character. Yeah, it kind of just felt like everyone roughly did the same thing. They all had a bit of DPS and a bit of healing, and that was kind of your build.
Actually, there's a good YouTube series I've been watching recently where this guy goes and plays all these MMOs that came out around that time period when it was just so inundated, and like reviews them.
You should play Granado Espada. It's one of the best ones I've ever played.
Really? I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, no one really ever seemed to have heard about it, but you get 3 characters and you form a team, obviously, and then you run around playing as a team.
You play 3 characters at the same time?
Yeah. But this is like the standard MMO style, but just you got extra characters to work through and build, and it was just really good fun, to be honest, because you got a party, and therefore you can do way more and like enjoy soloing a lot more as well, which tends to be what I do in MMOs.
Yes. So actually, we were talking about as a social experience. I find that I actually play alone most of the time as well nowadays.
Well, obviously, League of Legends can't be soloed, a MOBA.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, sorry.
That's an option. Yeah, what's Final Fantasy like as a solo quester?
So, when I first played it, when Shadowbringers released, I got recruited. When you join the game, you have like a little sprout mark next to your icon, and people wait in the city hubs trying to recruit people for their guilds. Or in Final Fantasy, they're called free companies. So I got recruited into a free company, and they were chill and friendly. We did some content together, but mostly, I don't know, I felt I was too shy to talk in the chat. It seemed like it was a very big group, and only about 5 people spoke in the chat every time. And then I quit the game for like a year, and I got removed from the free company because I was inactive for so long. Now that I'm back, I'm actually not in a free company at the minute. So yeah, I've been going it alone. It's not too bad at the minute actually, because such as the influx of new players, there's always people around to do kind of content.
Yeah, there's always people you can join up for raids and getting into some dungeons.
Yeah, I don't actually do a lot of the high-end content like the Savage and Ultimate raids. I care a lot about the appearance of my characters and stuff, so I'm farming for skins for my weapons, like the glowing swords and glowing books and mounts and stuff. And a lot of the good or the easier stuff to get is in older content. You just need to get a group together for it. So you need to get 3, 4, 5 people who are willing to sit down with you for 4 hours and run the same boss over and over and over again. And it's not really a challenge. It's very easy to kill the boss. You've just got to do it 100 times until it drops the thing you want. They've got quite a good system in Final Fantasy called the Party Finder, where you basically, it's like a kind of pin board or like a town market square posting board thing, where you can post what you want to do, like what roles you want people to fill in the party, how long you're going to go for. And generally over the course of like 3 or 4 hours it fills up. 4 hours would be pretty bad. Normally like an hour.
That's fair, actually. I must admit, there are some MMOs that don't do that, and it used to really annoy me. Destiny being a great example, trying to get into some of the raids, and you'd have to go on like forums online and try and find people, rather than just in-game saying, hey, who wants to do this? Yeah,
the awful one I found was Pokemon. Like they've got no infrastructure in that game for you to like figure out who you're trading with or who you're battling with or rematching. So I always had to go to the subreddit to find people to give me like 5 IV shiny dittos from other countries.
On that note of sort of you've come back to this MMO, and you found that you no longer have your free company, you no longer have your group, your members to work with. What's it been like in regards to sort of getting back into that game, getting back into a groove in it?
Yeah, so when I came back, they'd obviously released, I don't know, a year's worth of patches and content, which granted it wasn't that much because of the COVID pandemic that had slowed down their development. So at first I was quite distracted, just kind of going along with the new main story quests, new trials, getting all that stuff. But I don't know, it's been quite nice actually, not having people talking in the chat at the bottom left the whole time. If I were to join a free company again, I think I'd join one with like maybe a smaller one with like a closer community.
I was thinking about that because obviously I've played plenty of MMOs. Usually it is, it's at the very beginning is when people are trying to recruit people, trying to get them young essentially. But when it's coming up to, I'm imagining you're a higher level now, possibly max.
Yeah, I'm at endgame stuff now. Yeah.
Do you think it's easier or harder to then find a group?
I think there's plenty of free companies who like they only care about being the biggest or having the most active players. I feel like it'd be fairly easy to just like walk into a town square, people would whisper me, and I can just like accept any of those. But I don't know. I want to find I don't know how to go about it, but I want to find a group with actual real kind of community.
I'm with you. I understand what you mean, to be honest. Once more, harking back to World of Warcraft, I was in some big guilds. I think it was called guilds in World of Warcraft. I can't remember now. But basically, yeah, me and a few of them were just like, it's too big. No one really knows anyone. People don't really talk that much. So we went off and just made our own.
Yes.
It was a lot nicer, you know, having friends. You show up, you spend 10-20 minutes just chatting rather than playing the game.
So yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm on the Japanese server. I don't know. It might be quite difficult to find.
Now that is an interesting thing. What's it like? Because you do speak Japanese. Can you read? I haven't asked.
To an extent. Actually, one cool feature of the game is it's got like an auto translate feature.
Is it any good though?
It's all right. There's like a.
It's all right. Diplomatic.
There's a glossary of phrases. You can start typing something in English, and then hit the tab button, and it will kind of open up a list of phrases and words that start with the same letters that you've typed in. So, for example, I could like type in TA and then hit tab, and like the third option of this will be like tank. I select that option, and then I can type like NE, and then hit tab, and it'll find the one that says like need or necessary or something. Choose that option, and then when you type it in the chat, it will appear in whatever the client language is set to for the people from that region. So I type it, for me it says tank necessary or tank needed or something. But in the Japanese, it will come up as like a translation of it. You can make some kind of funny combinations.
I have no idea. What is tank in Japanese?
I think it'd just be tanku.
I was just sorry. Was it just katakana or like, yeah, okay.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, what was the question? Sorry, I went off topic.
No, that was interesting. I'd never.
The Japanese server.
Yeah.
So actually, there's no Oceanic server at the minute or Australian server. So actually, on the Japanese data center, there is a lot of English-speaking Australian, Indonesian, kind of Southeast Asian people.
Interesting.
And when I switched from Europe to Japan, I was Googling like which server is the best. And I chose Tomberry. Sorry, I don't know why I said that with like a Japanese voice.
You are in Japan, to be fair.
The like unofficial Australian or Southeast Asian English-speaking server in Japan.
I do find that interesting. Obviously, living in Australia, we tended to use American servers, and just accepted that the lag would be atrocious. But I mean, to be fair, even going on to Asian servers in general, it tended to be pretty atrocious lag. Australia has really bad internet, so I mean that's not a very good example.
They're opening a Australian data center, I think, next year or when the next expansion comes out. So I'm a little worried that when that happens, all the English speakers will leave, and it'll be me and just people speaking Japanese, and I'll have to. On one hand, that'd be, I think, a good chance to learn the language, make some local friends and stuff.
Just type in Tonde Saitama.
Yes, yeah.
Well, yeah. So getting back into an MMO, you've done all right. You've got max strength. You can get onto some guilds. You can meet some people. How about a MOBA though? This is a competitive one. What's it like trying to re-enter a challenging game that people have genuinely mastered? Yeah.
So while Final Fantasy, the gameplay was the same, there was just more people. So in fact, I think it's easier than ever because it's just the queue times have got shorter and stuff. Whereas I think League of Legends, it was kind of the height of its popularity when I was in high school. I mean, I don't know the exact player count nowadays, but I feel like it's less popular than it used to be. I feel like the average skill level of the players left in the community has gone up. So yeah, and I've gotten quite rusty in my time off, so it has gotten a lot harder, both in terms of game skill and also the meta shifts. They've reworked some of the item systems, and there's about 20 new characters since I last played. I've got to figure out what they all do. Yeah, that's a little more challenging.
So I just got up the numbers actually. This is quite interesting. It's been so I'll go through it. So in 2012, we had 35 million concurrent players. 35 million players of League of Legends, going up to 65. in then dropping going into 2018, but now in 2020, in 2020 it went up to 115 million.
Oh, okay.
So it's a bit up and down, but it's definitely going up.
So yeah, I don't know, most of those people
just insanely good.
Yeah, they must have just been brought back by the same thing as me, I guess, just interested in new characters and stuff.
I will take that idea though of like the player community improving, and this is something I would see often actually in arenas, arena combat, or what you call it, 2D fighters, whatever. I'd really get into the game, and then I'd leave and come back, and the only people left are basically professionals. And
yes.
Yeah. It's like, how have you been coping going up against that?
I had the same experience with Guilty Gear, trying to play some of the older Guilty Gear games online. And there's a
bad for it.
There's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fighting game that doesn't have online anymore. You can only play it on like fan-hosted servers and stuff. I tried that and like I just got bodied by everyone online because there's only like 300 people there who are all
I've been playing it since release every single day.
Yeah, but they were really nice though. I would recommend it. They were like trying to get me to stay. They were like, "Oh, I'll go easy on you next time. I'll teach you," because they want more players in their community, I think.
Now that is good. I must admit, there is a lot of, even when people are being nice, it's pretty daunting. Coming into a game, particularly a game that's been around for quite a while, and people have built up genuine skill. Even people that aren't professional are going to be pretty savage at it. It's a struggle.
Yeah, I think also with League of Legends is now I'm on the Japanese server. League of Legends is not particularly popular in Japan, I think, compared to China or America or Korea. Japanese people tend to prefer like mobile games and stuff. So the amount of players I think here is less than on the European server. So these players are pretty good, I think.
I will say my experience of traveling in Asia is predominantly Asia prefers mobile gaming. At least when I would talk to students, the upcoming gamers, the new generation, pretty much all of them played on their phones or played on a Nintendo Wii.
I think Japan especially, because in the pro scene, South Korea dominated for like 5 seasons in a row. Now China's top of the leaderboards. They're kind of, I don't know, inspiring their like local celebrities, making the game popular in those regions. Japan has never really made it big in the pro scene in League. I think it's just more difficult for the region to even get into.
Oh, interesting. Definitely a unique issue there.
Maybe, yeah.
I suppose this might skew the system a wee bit, but do you feel that you're taking part in League of Legends differently to how you did when you first started?
Yes, I would say so for sure. I think when nowadays I'm much more in, because I only play with one other friend in Japan. He is a Japanese guy. When I play with him, we have fun. It's nice. It's relaxing. But I play a lot on my own as well. And when I'm on my own, there's not much to do other than trying to like actually get good, learn the game, climb the ladder. So I would say now I am much more interested in the competitive side.
Okay.
So I think I am engaging with it in a much more kind of objective way where I'm trying to improve myself. Whereas when I was in high school, I just didn't care. I just wanted to mess around.
It's actually quite interesting. It was very much the other way around for me. When I was a kid, I always wanted to get better. I wanted to improve. I was ranked matches every time. Never did that well, but still, that was what I was interested in. Nowadays, I mean, you'd probably have to pay me to go on a multiplayer game. Like, I just don't care in the slightest. But no, that's it. What do you feel sort of changed then? Why do you feel that came about?
I think part of it is also the YouTube scene and the like general community around League of Legends. When I was in high school, they would Video Game Donkey, a big YouTuber. He used to play League of Legends. A lot of these YouTubers used to play League of Legends.
I was trying to think. My main knowledge of League of Legends was I think it was a Total Biscuit video was talking about someone got banned from it for like raging on a kid or something.
I don't know.
Like trolling newbies was like the whole video what it was about.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But it had this reputation for being very toxic in game. And I think there was also a lot of YouTubers who made kind of comedy videos where they tried out like funny team comps, try building strange item builds. And I used to find these videos really hilarious where they were just playing and laughing with their friends. I'm not sure if that side of YouTube is that big anymore. I haven't seen any of those videos recently. I think it was those videos that kind of inspired me to try out more things, have fun with my friends. Whereas now, I just feel like I'm playing how the game is intended to be played by the developers.
I was gonna say, of course, the general gaming sphere has sort of shifted. For me, I see a lot of those sort of videos doing, well, obviously Minecraft, but you mean everything gets done on Minecraft. But yeah, like Fortnite, going into weird ideas, Rust, I see a lot of that sort of thing.
Yes, yeah. I think that is part of it. That plus not having the same group that I used to play regularly with.
Yeah, sort of losing your team almost.
It's not been bad though. It's just like a different appeal now, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. No, I understand what you mean. I used to do a lot of Battlefield Bad Company, the classic. And yeah, if I was playing with my mates from school, well, that was a while ago. we'd all play as medic, and you had to use the heart, what you call it, defibrillators. And like, yeah, I mean, it was stupid, and you'd get nowhere, but it was really good fun. Yeah, but if I was on my own, you'd actually play it properly, and you'd be going for points.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of Xbox Live party chat with people in Halo 3 custom games, where like one guy is really slow but invincible, and the other people die in one hit, but they can run really fast. That kind of like unbalanced game mode that people make.
The third one I didn't really get into, but I played Halo 2 a ton. I can remember when the zombie mod came out. Well, not zombie mod, but like zombie style of play became very popular.
Game mode, yeah.
Yeah.
That was basically all I played in 3.
Well, it's like, I think in 3 they made it official, but in the original, like, it didn't automatically change your team or anything. You had to like manually switch teams when you got caught. Yeah, it was really good fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and it came out at like the right time, I think, as well. You know, when like zombies were getting big, but weren't quite at the point of like every game had a zombie DLC for it. Yeah,
that's another interesting thing is I was big into Halo 3 and Halo Reach, to an extent Halo 4. They released the Master Chief Collection recently on PCs. I always thought the only thing that stopped me from playing those games anymore was the fact that they were just on Xbox, and I don't have an Xbox anymore. But I did try going back to them on the PC releases with my friends, and it was fun for a while, but I don't know if it's just us that have changed, but we couldn't. It didn't seem to have the long-lasting power that it did when I was playing it every night.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. I did the same with Counter-Strike. There is something about FPS games that when you're younger, I sound like such an old man now, it's very fleeting, but it's very quick. And you can do a ton of matches. And I think it's the idea that like you just finished your homework and you throw a couple of matches in before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Whereas like now I'm an adult and I've got all the time after work, I'm just like, I want something that's prolonged, you know? I want to progress and develop. I want to have a character, or even just like with Battlefield, Call of Duty, that sort of progression to get a new gun, progression to get something back.
Yeah.
I can literally feel myself aging as I'm talking.
Yeah, I remember going back from school, Halo just all night. I could do like 20 games in a night or something. Feels like you're getting a lot of content.
And now it's Hollow.
Yeah,
go on, excellent. Basically. Well, that was nice thoroughly depressing. But, yeah, marvelous. Okay, let's flip that around now. I've got to find my notes. So we've said coming back, and you're kind of wanting to build a community, and you've been seeing a change in like the YouTube community. how has it been trying to integrate yourself into this new sort of social structure of the game? That sounds so professional. I am impressed.
So with regards to League, I wouldn't say I'm like really trying to integrate into a social structure that much. It's just like your teammates are different every game. I'm just doing online
to avoid
solo
sounding
game.
pretentious, you don't actually need to call it a social structure.
Sorry, I thought I just used the same vocabulary from the question for bonus points.
You get the brownie points. Congratulations.
Yeah. What was I saying? In League, there's not that much. It's just different. Unless you have like a team where you're trying to go to tournaments and stuff, it's just different people every game. There's, I guess, I think the subreddit has changed. Like, I remember checking the subreddit very often, seeing those kind of comedy YouTube videos. It seems a lot more like bitter now. People are angry at like the developers. People complain a lot, which I get. Some of the stuff they're complaining about, I think, is quite legitimate. One of the things is like, so when I came back to League, I thought all the new characters are, these guys look really cool. They're really, they got great designs. They got really cool stories. But actually, a lot of people online are complaining there's too many like pretty boys and sexy girls and stuff now. They want like more monster characters.
I get you.
They think the big thing is that they're trying to market to China because they released a mobile game recently, and they're trying to kind of sell copies in China. And I think in China it's actually it's not allowed to show ghosts in games. It's one of like the prohibited things. So to get around that, they've released skins for some of the more like monstrous or ghost-like characters, which basically makes them human. And on the mobile game, these are their default appearances. So people are not happy with some of that. I think it's all right to an extent, as long as they don't try and push it too hard.
I'm actually more intrigued then. So League of Legends is a mobile game.
Yeah, they've released a mobile variant called Wild Rift, which is basically like baby's first League of Legends.
I didn't realize that was League of Legends. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I tried it out, but like, I need a keyboard and mouse. Like, when you're touching the buttons on the touchscreen, like you click on everything. And they've actually got like they've got an AI system in it that like kind of auto targets what it thinks you want to target. And mostly it's pretty good, but then sometimes it sends you like barreling into the enemy team or something.
I was in South Korea, and I had a student was playing not Fortnite. What's the other one? PUBG.
PUBG, yeah.
And
PUBG Battlegrounds, as it's now called.
Wait. Player Unknown Battlegrounds. Apparently,
yeah, they changed the name. It's PUBG Battlegrounds now.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But yeah, when I was with this student, he was just showing me like, oh, this is how you do it. And I mean, I gave it a go. I've played not PUBG. I played the mod for Armor for that sort of style of game.
Armor, yeah.
And I could not, for the life of me, run in a straight line. Like, not even just engage the enemy.
On the mobile game.
Yeah, not fight anything. Just I could not walk in a straight line using a mobile phone as a controller. It is insane. I want to call it like thumb dexterity of children these days.
Yeah, the accuracy. I don't know, my fingers are too big or something, or my phone's too small.
I will say that is one thing. Most people these days all have phablets. Ugh.
Phablets? What's a
phone tablet in the middle.
Phablet. Oh, okay. So like a iPhone Plus.
Yeah, I feel this is an old-fashioned word, but they were called phablets for a while.
Okay. Is that with a PH or a F?
You know, I honestly have no idea. I've never seen it written. It was one of those. I used to work in PC World. If you remember, they had the deal with, I think they had some phone company inside them. And
yes.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is, but they bought them and then set them up in the stores. And so, of course, yeah, I used to hang around with people selling phones all the time. They're just like, oh, mate, everyone's buying phablets these days. And I was like, what? What
Next big thing.
Phablet? Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the bigger phones. It's slightly off topic though, but maybe good for gaming like that. What was the question? It was integrating into the social structure.
Yeah, like what's it like trying to get back into communities? So that was League of Legends. How about for the MMO? Do you feel you've been able to interact on the same sort of social level?
Yeah, so I would say there's been less. There's been less of like a permanent community that I've been surrounded by nowadays. Like, because I had the free company and now I don't. However, there is a lot more players in the game now. A lot more people learning the game. It feels like it's kind of been given a shot of like reviving energy. You see a lot more people leveling in like the low level areas with mentors and new players kind of helping each other out. And I've had like more interesting interactions with people like in the raids, people talking, asking like, how do we do this mechanic? Rather than just like the same group of people who'd been playing it for years.
Yeah, just following the system at that point. Yeah, that is interesting because that kind of sounds like the literal opposite then.
So less of a permanent community that I have in particular, but I can feel there is a better community on the whole in the game right now. They've got an interesting system in the game called like the mentor system, where you can, if you are level 80 on all the different classes and you have completed this amount of trials, you can sign up to be a mentor, and like it funnels you into content where new people are struggling when you queue up for like the daily trials or whatever, the daily roulettes. I thought that seemed quite interesting. I'd quite like to go for that, help out new players and stuff.
What's the gain for the top level player?
So there are some mounts that you can only get if you've done mentor roulette like 1,000 times or something.
I'm assuming these are quite quick missions then.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So the high level extreme savage content, normally you use the previously mentioned party finder that I spoke about to find people who are willing to do that. They've like searched up how to do the raids, how to do the content on YouTube. But you can, if you want, queue up with just like the in-game raid finder for this high level stuff. And I have since learned that you're not meant to do that because it just queues you up with random people to very difficult content. And if you get people who don't know what they're doing, then you're stuck there for ages. And basically the mentor system targets that kind of content where people don't know what they're doing. And so I've heard horror stories about people who don't listen and fighting, and you're trapped in this dungeon for an hour. I think those mounts in particular are very rare.
Okay, so it's kind of put up with the hell that is, but you get the nice shiny mount.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of engagement with the community is how you make these more permanent friends, I guess. Like if I was a mentor and there was a sprout who I helped out, I guess I'd like add into my friend list. Get enough, you can start a free company, stuff like that.
Oh, that's fair. So do you feel that like the community has become like kind of the opposite of what I knew in the day? And back when I was really into the online scene, there was a lot of I guess we call it noob shaming these days. Yeah, do you feel that it's a lot more open now?
So the WoW refugees have been here for a few months now, since the Blizzard stuff all went down. I think it's been a little while now. So it's kind of settled. But actually at first it was like you were saying, I'm in a Facebook group for Final Fantasy. When the WoW refugees started coming over, there was a lot of kind of elitist gatekeeping. It's like I don't even think it's true, or I'm not sure, but the Final Fantasy XIV community has a thing where they're like, oh, this community is so great, everyone's so kind, I love it here. We don't want the WoW people. WoW is so toxic, they're going to ruin our game, it's going to be really bad. I mean,
it sounds plausible.
Yeah, maybe to an extent, but I think they've kind of integrated themselves quite well, and it was actually the Final Fantasy people who were being dickheads at the beginning.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like we're saying, I think I said before that like the average skill level is maybe a little lower now. Like I've seen a few more wipes on content, but I feel like that makes it more interesting in a way, rather than just clearing it and ending. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, there should
Especially
be...
if you're playing. Makes for more cool moments if you're like the healer or the tank, and everyone else dies, and you can resurrect some people rather than just like clearing it no problem.
I was gonna say there should definitely be an element of challenge, particularly for raids, but also dungeons in general. Like the whole point is they're supposed to test the player. You're not supposed to just rinse them in one sitting, really.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to fail a few times, learn the area, learn the monsters, learn. I'm not sure actually. Would you say in the new Final Fantasy you have to really like learn like the monster move set, that sort of thing, and like how to react to them?
It depends on your role in the party and on like what content you're doing. I think a lot of the older content, at the time it was released, it was actually quite difficult. Like you had to learn stuff, you had to learn the fights, know which, especially if you're the tank or the healer, you've got to know when like the big burst damage is coming, when you got to save all your cooldowns for. If you're the DPS, you just don't stand in the red circles.
Yeah. Move fast, keep swinging.
That's another complaint that people have said, that some of the story content's gotten a little too easy. So most of the content that they release that you have to go through to get to endgame is relatively easy. Like you can clear it first try, you don't die. Even like the kind of single boss trials, even like you can make a few mistakes, you'll be fine. And then they have like a separate content, which is the high-end content, like Savage and Ultimate, which you do need the endgame gear for. You do need to know what you're doing, otherwise you will wipe.
Okay, so that's like the super duper difficult hard mode at the end sort of thing.
Yeah, there's actually like 4 tiers. There's like normal, which is the majority of the content that people will ever do. Yeah. And that's what you have to do as part of the story, and that will be fine. You just go for a nice dungeon with nice music, you fight the boss, you get some rewards, you level up at the end. There's extreme...
What a lovely day out.
There's extreme content, which is just a bit harder. It's like remixed fights from the basic, but they'll hit harder and they'll do certain mechanics.
Okay, so just a bit of buffing on it rather than like changing it up too much.
And then there's Savage and Ultimate. Savage is pretty hard. I don't actually engage with that very much, but you need to have like the best materia in your gear. You need to have the best gear. You need to search what you're doing. Like there's mechanics like if one of you stands in the wrong place, you'll wipe the whole party, stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah, it's really really unforgiving.
Yeah. Generally they're pretty like telegraphed attacks, so you can figure it out. I think blind runs are quite fun, like where it's kind of like a puzzle. You figure out like, oh, what did I do that killed everyone? I won't do that next time. And then you have Ultimate, which is, there's only I think 2 or 3 of them in the game at the minute, which is they're like 30-minute gauntlets of like different bosses, and they've got the best music in the game and the best weapons in the game.
I love how you brought in music. So is that a large part of the Final Fantasy experience?
The composer for Final Fantasy XIV is really, really great. I'm always interested to see what like new fights are in the patches, new music. I think it was, Spotify gives you like a most played album each year. Your most played music. I think for 2019, my top 10 was all Final Fantasy XIV songs.
Nice, that's fair enough. I must admit, I cannot remember for the life of me what it was like in the very beginning, but Final Fantasy games in general do have some pretty awesome tracks in them.
Yeah, it's they've took some risks with this one, since because they had the original one that was trash, the original Final Fantasy XIV. I think the team on that was like they were very ambitious. They were trying to make a kind of mainline Final Fantasy game, but in like an online format.
Yeah.
The Realm Reborn, I think, has taken a few more risks. Like the composer, he makes a lot of like rock music.
Okay.
They do like live concerts. They have like a band called the Primals, which do like rock and metal covers over some of the things in the game, and they use it for some of the fights.
I'm just imagining it's kind of the same thing as they changed their name because they changed it with a level cap, but I think it's like level 71 Elite Murloc now or something. That was a band for World of Warcraft that were actually really
I know
good.
It was Elite Tauren Chieftain. Is that one of it? I remember that from Hearthstone. ETC, Elite Tauren Chieftain or something.
You know what? I have not heard them in absolute years. I don't even know if they're still together. But they've actually leveled up with every album.
I guess with each expansion, they like raised the level cap.
Ah, yeah, it was just the song, I Am Murloc. Okay, my bad. Mate, that's giving me the old nostalgia back in the day. Well, either way, bringing this back, because that's a weird tangent. Well, I've got one question left, and that is, very simply, what would you say to someone wanting to get back into a game after a break?
Yeah, so you told me this question in advance. I thought about it a little bit. I would say first, you should probably think about the reasons why you quit in the first place. So I know some people with League of Legends especially, they they're like trapped. They hate the game. They're trapped in it. They've spent too much money and time on it. Kind of sunk cost fallacy. So if that is your situation and you ended up quitting because of it, then you probably shouldn't go back.
Just stay away, yeah. You made your escape, stay out, mate.
But I do think a lot of that stuff was a little overblown. I personally, I don't think League of Legends is that incredibly toxic. Especially I feel like it got less toxic recently. So if you didn't have a particularly negative reason for quitting, then I feel like go for it. Especially if there's I don't know, patches of content, new characters, stuff coming out, kind of freshen it up for you. You might be able to kind of recapture some of the original feelings you had.
Oh, that's fair. Go on. So with an MMO, as long as you MMO. So with a MOBA, with those competitive games, as long as it's not too much of a drain upon you while you left, get back in.
Yeah. So I feel for League of Legends, it feels like they've completely changed the items in it. There's new characters. I feel like I'm getting a new experience now than what I was getting originally. So I'm pretty happy that I decided to give it a go again. And same for Final Fantasy, to be honest. Like Final Fantasy, I adore that game. And I never planned to quit for good. I just wanted to take a few, because you got to pay the monthly subscription.
Yes.
Take a while off, come back when they've released more stuff. Yeah, try and keep up to date with patches and see what they've released, and when you feel like they've released enough, give it another shot.
Well, I'm actually going to add on, because I hadn't thought about that. But yes, League of Legends, free to play, drop in, drop out at your choice. It really doesn't matter. But with an MMO, when you're paying that monthly subscription.
English teacher.
Never have guessed. But when you're paying that per month, do you feel that there's a need, a necessity for like an actual want to go back, just because you have that financial worry in it?
Yeah. So I feel financial issues have been an issue for both of these games, because League of Legends, although it's free to play, I had a fair bit of expendable money as a teenager, like, you know, my weekly pocket money and stuff like that. That all went on League of Legends skins. So I've spent like...
So just to confirm though, that's only cosmetics, right?
Yes. Okay. You can buy like the new characters and stuff, but you can also unlock them just by playing.
How ridiculous are they to unlock?
Not too bad. Not too bad, I think.
Right.
You can get like one guy a week, maybe. Some of them are really cheap. Some of them are more expensive.
That ain't bad, actually. Yeah, one a week. Yeah.
Most of what I spent my money on was the cosmetics. Yeah. So I feel like I can never escape League. Like, I will always have to come back just because I spent so much on it. And I don't have that much of a problem with that because I don't hate the game. But I feel like it's worth coming back to every so often. Final Fantasy, I feel like I'm kind of always planning out when I'm going to quit and come back, because I am paying the monthly subscription to get my maximum value. I reactivate my subscription on like the months where there is events, there is stuff going on, and then maybe take like a month or two off.
Yeah, I get you.
So there's a new, the new expansion comes out in November. Part of the reason I activated recently was because I want to get to endgame before that comes out, and then I can just go straight into it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, just like max out what you've got now so you're ready to just hammer the new stuff, get right into that brand new story.
They do it, and also one of the reasons I went back, they did the free login campaign. It was kind of a perfect storm with all the WoW refugees. Everyone was quitting World of Warcraft. And then at the same time, Final Fantasy had this really good reviewed expansion. They had a free login campaign.
How tremendously convenient.
Yeah. The big World of Warcraft YouTubers were all switching over, so I figured that was why so many people decided to go over. It could be a conspiracy like you just mentioned. There was actually no sexual harassment at Blizzard. It was all fake news planted by Square Enix to get more players in their game.
Chocobo conspiracy of 2021. Oh, interesting stuff. Just to end off, thank you very much for joining us and giving us a bit of an insight into what it's like coming back to not only an MMO, but also coming back into a MOBA, particularly style of game that I'm not particularly familiar with.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for having me.
And just to end with, we'll have to see, as always, what do we have good looking forward to coming out from Blazog?
Yeah, you can find me at Blazog on Twitch and YouTube, and I'm also at artzog_ on Instagram, where I sometimes post pictures and stuff I've drawn.
Excellent, great to hear. Well, thank you very much for coming on once more, and until next time, peace out.